Greetings, mortals, and welcome. Please present your tickets for validation. Thank you. Your existence has been acknowledged, and you have been granted access every Thursday and Friday. You will be accompanying your guides, Krista and Brandy, along with a world-renowned guest. They will be exploring an intriguing tendril of what humans refer to as reality each week, as they strive to advance you further down the path to the truths of your physical earth and what lies on the other side. Remember to please keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, and do not exit until the craft has come to a complete stop.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's happening?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy rainy Friday here.
Yeah.
In St. Louis.
It's nasty here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice earlier, but now it was 65. Now it's 45. That's weird how it drops so fast.
Wow.
That is. Temperature wise, it's good here. It's 70, but
70.
It's rain and nasty. So
Yeah.
I'm over it already. I'm ready for sunshine and nice warm weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maddie says it's raining in Chicago too. Yeah, she's not really that far from us, really.
Mm-mm.
Nope, we're getting that rain too later on tonight or tomorrow. Coming over from Chicago. It always goes west to east.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping on here tonight. Obviously, you guys are not Brandy.
No. I got a haircut.
And I dyed my hair kind of dark gray, sort of.
Yeah, Brandy is with Tex and Jason. They're down in Falk.
Werewolf says he was looking for me in the crowd for the NFL draft. Yeah, we had the NFL draft. It's going on now. All I can say is this, Krista.
Yeah.
Just be glad I'm your buddy because I'm still tired from last night's events.
I'm sure you are.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Got a couple of events to talk about, though, here real quick. Let me find them, if I can find them. Let's talk about this one here. This will be coming up May 18th and 19th. It is Ashmore Estates. It's being put on by Blondes and After Dark Paranormal. And I'm sure you guys have heard us say everybody's going to be there a gazillion times. But, yeah, there it is. I'm not as good as Brandy on this. And then we have the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, and that is June 7th and 8th. And yeah, that's it. You see the speakers, it's all good. There we go.
That was pretty fast. I usually waste about 5 minutes doing that.
Well, you know what? Because I lacked today. Robin, you're so good at it. Why don't you remind everybody what to watch this week?
Oh, God. Yeah. If you are new here, please subscribe to Texas Front Porch, the Blinds and Booze Paranormal Podcast, Bigfoot Mr. Robin, of course, Paranormal Paul, and yes, Josh Turner. You know about Josh and Barton Nunnelly within Humanoids are people we run with. But yeah, Mondays is Texas Front Porch. It starts at 8 to 11, 8 o'clock with Diva Dimension. Then it goes into Tex and Brandy. Tuesday, myself and Krista, 9 o'clock, Beyond BMR, 9 in the East. Wednesday is Barton Nunnelly in Humanoids at 9 o'clock in the East. Thursday afternoon, brunch with BMR and Tex at 1 in the East. 8 o'clock in the East on Texas Front Porch is Monica Rollins with Our Paranormal World. Then you got the Blondes and the Booze at 9 o'clock right after Tex on, of course, their channel, the Blondes and Booze, at 9. A little more Woo with the Booze on Friday, 8 o'clock, which is today, actually.
Yep.
So it's usually Krista and Brandy. Me and Paul filling in today. And then nothing Saturday. Well, Saturday nights, you guys, we've been doing midnight with myself and Krista and the whole gang when they can make it. tell you what, it's turning into something we might have to consider keeping it going, at least until we decide, screw it, because the summer is coming. We all got things to do. But really, yeah, like we said, we're all in the house by midnight Saturday. So,
yeah.
and then Sunday is
Truth or Tinfoil.
Truth or Tinfoil at 6. And then that's on the Truth or Tinfoil channel. Truth with Brandy and Randy.
Yeah.
And then Tex rounds out Sunday evening on his channel with Infamous Minds with is a true crime channel or show. Yeah.
Correct. And then we have Paranormal Paul. He's on Saturday nights. Paranormal
with Krista.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Paranormal Roundtable. You can hit them
Saturday. Yeah. Are they on tonight too?
No, Tuesday. Well, Tuesdays. And we have Josh on with us on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And then Friday nights, they'll be on tonight after our show. And then Saturday evenings and Sunday evenings.
Very good.
So I think between all of us, we got them all down.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we do. I mean, you put me on a spot. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I usually have a paper. I guess I don't use paper. It's just like your backup.
Gotcha.
I did that off of memory. I'm surprised my memory's good today. A little foggy still. A little foggy.
Well, you have an excuse, and that's okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's all good. We'll let it slide. What do you guys know about Salem Witch Trials?
Not a whole heck of a lot, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I covered it in school, but that was many years ago.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Of course, I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I started watching a cool documentary, but I had to shut it off because I went outside because it was too nice earlier today. But I tell you, it's kind of strange how all these women, mostly women, some men, were just executed for allegedly being witches, and I still can't figure out how they figured out or thought they were even witches.
Right. Exactly. I got something here. I'm going to read to everybody, kind of give everybody a brief overview. It won't take long. And then let's talk about it. Everybody in chat, let's just talk about it. So it says in January 1692, 9-year-old Elizabeth Betty Parris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams, the daughter and niece of Samuel Parris, minister of Salem Village, began having fits, including violent contortions and uncontrollable outbursts of screaming. After a local doctor, William Griggs, diagnosed bewitchment, the other girls in the community began to exhibit similar symptoms, including Ann Putnam Jr., Mercy Lewis, Elizabeth Hubbard, Mary Walcott, and Mary Warren. In late February, arrest warrants were issued for Paris Caribbean slave Tituba, along with 2 other women, the homeless beggar Sarah Good and the poor elderly Sarah Osborne, whom the girls accused of bewitching them. The 3 accused witches were brought before the magistrates, Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne, and questioned, even as their accusers appeared in the courtroom on a grand display of spasms, contortion, screaming, and writhing. Though Good and Osborne denied their guilt, Tituba confessed. Likely seeking to save herself from certain conviction by acting as an informer, she claimed that there were other witches alongside her in service of the devil against the Puritans. As hysteria bred through the community and beyond the rest of Massachusetts, a number of the others were accused, including Martha Corey, Rebecca Nurse, both regarded as upstanding members of the church and the community, and the 4-year-old daughter of Sarah Good. Like Tituba, several accused witches confessed and named still others, and the trials soon began to overwhelm the local justice system. In May of 1692, the newly appointed governor of Massachusetts, William Phips, ordered the establishment of special court of oyer to hear and terminer to decide on witchcraft cases for Suffolk, Essex, and Middlesex counties. Presided over by judges including Hawthorne, Samuel Sewall, and William Stoughton, the court handed down its first conviction against Bridget Bishop on June 2nd. She was hanged 8 days later on what would become known as Gallows Hill in Salem town. 5 more people were hanged that July, 5 in August, and 8 more in September. In addition, 7 other accused witches died in jail, while the elderly Giles Corey, Martha's husband, was pressed to death by stones after he refused to enter a plea at his arraignment. Though the respected minister Cotton Mather had warned of the dubious value of the spectral evidence or testimony about the dreams and visions, his concerns went largely unheeded during the Salem Witch Trials. Increase Mather, president of Harvard College and Cotton's father, later joined his son in urging that the standards of evidence for witchcraft must be equal to those for any other crime, concluding that it would be better that 10 suspected witches may escape than one innocent person be condemned. Amid waning public support for the trials, Governor Phipps dissolved the Court of Oyer and Terminator in October and mandated that its successor disregard spectral evidence. Trials continued with dwindling intensity until early 1693, and by that, May Phipps had pardoned and released all those in prison on witchcraft charges. In January 1697, the Massachusetts General Court declared a day of fasting for the tragedy of the Salem Witch Trials. The court later deemed the trials unlawful, and the leading justice, Samuel Sewall, publicly apologized for his role in the process. The damage to the community lingered, however, even after Massachusetts colony passed legislation restoring the good names of the condemned and providing financial restitution to their heirs in 1711. Holy cow, huh?
Yeah, it's great that they all got restitution. Too bad that the families were butchered.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, would Paul hop out?
He's having storms. He might have got knocked out. You know how that does happen.
Yeah.
I said, what I was saying backstage, which makes this intriguing for me. I like to know back in the day, because this was in the 1600s, right?
Yeah.
What was their evidence, that they came up with back in the day that suggested somebody was a witch?
I don't think that it was evidence. I think it was just hearsay and, like, I didn't like you. And that was the thing that I did read on other things that, like, I might not have liked you, so I would accuse you of being a witch. And they were just going on like, okay, so now this person needs to be arrested. There was no rhyme or reason to this.
Yeah, and I was also reading something. Werewolf says those girls started it all. And then I also heard, though, a lot of it was bad luck. Like if you were a female, in some cases, men were hung. Back in Salem, they hung everybody.
Yeah.
And I think and then some, of course, were burnt at the stake. Now, I don't know if that was in Salem, was it? Don't I hear witches getting burnt at the stake? Was that like in medieval times?
That I'm not too sure. I did read this, Ristel. There's also the contaminated rye theory where it causes, I did read about that also, and that was on one of my notes here too, that it causes a lot of the same, I guess, mania, so that could have been initially.
And as I was reading up on it, it was kind of like bad luck syndrome. Like if you were a girl hanging out with another group of people and something bad, and you got sick back in the day, if you got sick, or if something just weird happened, they assume that you were the devil.
Yeah.
Right. Because you brought that upon whoever you were visiting or hanging out, or whatever the case may be. And you were just killed off of that. And I also was reading that, go figure this one out. If they were uncertain that somebody was a witch, they would take, and I think this was also in medieval, this might have even been before the 1600s, that they would take you, they would chain your legs or your ankles to a big cement block and throw you in a lake or the moat off of the castles. And if you survived, then they knew you weren't.
Yeah.
If you died, if you survived, then you were a witch. Then they were going to kill you. Well, nobody survives a drowning. I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless you were Harry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Roxanne Delgado says, no hearsay. If a woman was a healer, they accused it was from the devil to a witch. So, and then little Patty says, no one was burned in Salem. I think they just hanged them. There was one man, though, I think that was stoned to death.
Okay, yeah.
But that
Yeah, I
was
didn't.
the one.
I read that too. Yeah, I read that no one was burned in Salem. It was all hangings. And I
Yeah.
think, like I said, I think they hung people in maybe different states, or maybe it was even way back in the 1500s or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, Glenn
You know.
says, so you had the burn theory, right? That was in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the Massachusetts, there was the colonies, like he said. Yes, and these were the Puritans, right? Yeah.
Correct. So yeah, that just what do you think? Do you think what are your theories? What this could have been? Why and how this all started?
I don't know. Like, some of the things I read up on this was weird happenings with certain people, and I think wicked women that were, and again, there were some men, but it was mainly women that were stirring up trouble. I think, I think that I was reading where stirring up trouble and creating revelry, was the spawn of the devil, right? And I
Right.
even think it probably went back to, in some cases, women of the evening.
Yeah.
Where that was considered certainly the work of the devil.
Right.
And so a lot of negativity that was associated with certain happenings or events. Like, again, if you were hanging out with somebody that was sick, well, you gave them the sickness, therefore you're a witch or a devil. And it was, I read a whole bunch of stuff on it, but it's all kind of boiled. Like I asked earlier, there was no clear-cut evidence to me.
Yeah.
You said, Krista, maybe because they didn't like you. Someone didn't like you. They spread rumors about you. All you had to say was, hey, I think Krista's a witch. And that's going to spread through the entire town. And guess what? You're going to get hung. Yeah. Because I said, he said, she said type of thing,
Right. What do you think? I read, it said about the people like having contortions and fits there in court. What do you think that was?
This whole thing to me is not supernatural, paranormal. I just think maybe people had epilepsy back in the day. There was no doctors, no medicines. And I think a lot of people went through the epileptic seizures more so than today. It wasn't controlled back then. I can see a lot of that with the, I read about that as well. Epilepsy, the people didn't even know what that was way back when. You know what I mean? Right. And if you see somebody contorting, we've all saw the crazy movies about the demon inside a body and how the demon will contort your body into a pretzel, something that you can't do, by your naturally, which is demonic if you look at that. That's just creepy looking stuff.
Part of me agrees with Werewolf here on this. Yeah. Young teens wanting attention and power. I just don't see, like, you wouldn't think that would happen in today's times, but then again, yeah, it could, and then I think about like my own teenagers here throwing hissy fits. Yeah, I could see them,
It's something, right?
What he says here,
And I think a lot of these folks back then, if you weren't born into wealth, if you didn't have your land, it was, you had to find your way to getting good with the higher ups, aristocrats, or the kings and queens, even back prior to that, get on their good side, and maybe you would get out of poverty, because all these people live in poverty for the most part, unless you were in the government.
Yeah.
Which is how a lot of society started. The government's always had the money, and you and I were slaves, or we were just taxpayers that lived on small means.
Yeah. Well, the two that started was a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, and they were the daughters of the minister. What does that tell you? So a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, I can see them having temper tantrums.
Yep. Oh, very useful. And even young teenagers.
Yeah.
And I also have to think that these kids, like when we were growing up, 9, 10, 11, I think the kids back in the day were probably a lot more mature than we were. They were a lot smarter and on the ball, because they were surviving day to day.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids were orphans too, who grew up in these communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, like how that all took place, that they just went on just like words, and there's no evidence,
And you talk about having no laws,
Yeah.
I mean, today you could be a convicted murderer and you got to go through all this evidence, and the guy's guilty, But if you've got that one person that has that doubt,
Yeah.
a lot of times these guys get set free. No, not all the time. I think they're pretty accurate with how they convict people today.
Yeah.
Although 1% of everybody, I read somewhere something that 1 or 2, 3% at the most of people are convicted of a crime that are in prison are innocent. So it's not foolproof.
No.
I'd hate to be that 1% that was at the wrong place at the wrong time, though.
Yeah. But then, here's my thing. These people that go to trial too, I feel like it takes 12 people to convict somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All 12 people have to agree that you're guilty or not guilty.
Yeah. No, I think that's the way. I agree with how we do it today. I was on one of those before, but it wasn't for jury trial. I tell you, it was very intense. It was for it was some fraud scheme with a business, and so this was pretty tough stuff. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, we found the guy innocent, and he happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so was enough evidence.
Really? Wow.
Mm-mm.
Interesting. An untrue accusation by young people can still throw a community in chaos.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, just to spread a lie, yeah, exactly. In today's society, spread a lie about somebody at work.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't care. Yeah. If someone badmouths somebody at work and see you've got 500 people at the plant or wherever you work, everyone's going to look at you differently. I don't care. That's libel and the slander against people is one of the worst ways easiest way to bring somebody down, making up a lie, because you're now going to cast doubt on people, which sucks. So I think back during this time period, it was just like you were guilty. If I call Krista a witch, therefore, we're going to hang you. You're arrested and we're going to hang you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also, go ahead.
I was going to say, Smurfy says, my uncle spent 26 years in prison for giving a coworker a ride home. Wow.
Holy, well.
Yeah.
And then one thing, too, I don't know if you read this. They arrested 200 people during this time, and they executed 19 of them. So what made them decide that the other 71 of them, how come they didn't get hung, I wonder?
Well, because I think that's when they come in and took away, what was that court called? Let me look here again. They took it away, and let's see. That's where I'll find it here. Governor Phipps finally dissolved the Court of Oyer and Terminer in October and mandated that its successor disregard spectral evidence. Okay, so finally someone got smart. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It took time.
Yeah. Yeah. William says if they confessed, they were spared.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, and then here you go on that now. So, okay, if you confess, you're spared. How yet? If you deny it, you're hanged. So,
but that must go differently too, because if you confess to being a demon or a witch, you were spared. But I also read that they needed proof, and you had to tell people you were a witch, and they would hang you, because in a lot of cases they tortured you to where you just gave up and said, "Look, I'm a witch." Yeah. Then they killed you. Now, what William says, I'm sure he's correct, but I'm just wondering what era that was in. I don't think it applied to the Pilgrims or the Puritans.
I don't know.
I only read it. I read about an hour's worth of stuff and such. But that's, I don't know.
They say there's the hanging area there. I would like to go visit that, because I think there'd be, just history alone. I'm a big history buff, but I would like to see, where all that took place. Yeah. Here William says, which of many who were accused believed if they confessed, they were denying Christ. That made sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you go against what you truly believe and spare your life, or, Wow.
And if you go take this back a step, these people were accused of being witches. I don't even think it mentions the word witchcraft, does it? Because, it's funny today in today's society, There are witches, practicing witches. No, some are good. Again, for me, when I hear the word witch, I don't assume evil or bad at all, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what they practice, correct?
Right.
So I didn't find anything what these witches were allegedly practicing.
No.
It was just a word of mouth thing.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm still sticking to my story. I think the little girls had something,
Mm-hmm.
9 and 11. Come on, man.
That's
Just saying
young.
that they've seen something. I get if somebody physically did something to them, bodily harm or something, but just for these kids to say, oh, they made me do this. They put this hex on me, whatever.
Yeah, that's quite a lot for a kid 9 or 10 years old. I mean, to come up with. And I don't know what the age is, but you'd probably know this. You've had kids, obviously.
Uh-huh.
There's a certain age, though, with kids, though, and I don't know what the age is, so maybe you would know. There's a certain age with children growing up where they don't lie because they don't know what a lie even is.
It's little. They're young,
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So like a 5 or 6-year-old tells you something, you might be more apt to believe it because why would they make something up? Their brain isn't that developed yet.
Yeah, young children are brutally honest.
Yes.
Yeah, they were brutally honest. At least mine were.
I mean, I can remember when I was a kid being honest, I mean, and even talking to today's little kids, I know quite a few. You just know.
Yeah, absolutely you do.
Now, they don't stand up in a court of law because they're too young. You got to be a certain age, I guess, even be the subpoena to go to court, right?
Yeah, they do.
So
they do. Times have really changed, But then, like back in, I have heard about like the trials over in Europe too. That's where all this started, know.
Well, it all started back too with the kings, the kings and queens of England, like King Arthur or King Henry, right? The 8th.
Yeah.
The man who had 6 wives.
Right.
I think he get half of them be beheaded, half of them.
Wow, I don't know.
Again, I watched some show on that, and but they also back during that time they burnt you at the stake for witchcraft if they found you to be a witch. Yes, because I was watching some documentary.
And here's the thing too, like so back in the day. So we'll just fast forward time.
Yeah.
And people with abilities, just abilities in general, which I believe all of us have, just, as far as it's even that intuition, that kind of gut feeling, So everybody who I won't say everybody, but a lot of the people that were put in the insane asylums, years ago, 100 years ago or whatever, maybe they weren't crazy. Maybe they just had these gifts and didn't hide it. They really did see the dead, or they really did hear the dead,
I'll bet you that's a great statement. I'll bet you're 100% correct. They weren't insane.
No.
They have these gifts and abilities. Hey, even think about this. In today's world, we talk to a lot of people that you have on your show or whoever that are psychic mediums or psychics. They're all witches in that world. If you were a psychic today, you're a witch automatically.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I guess, because I think everybody has the ability, just, more people use it more than others. And, I know a lot of people that would have been hanged today, Some of my friends.
Yes. I mean, I would lose about 18% of my friends.
Right. Or they're in insane asylums. And that's the thing that really
we would lose half of our viewers in chat probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. For our audience. I mean, yeah. And hell, if you went back and said, I saw a Bigfoot, you were probably a warlock. If you're a dude, what? You saw some beast? Some devil of the forest?
Yeah. Little Patty says Henry VIII beheaded Anne Boleyn because she was accused to be a witch. Yeah.
I thought I was. I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, Roberta. You're gifted, but not a witch. And yeah, exactly. You would have been classified a witch, though, in 1692.
Right. Yeah. And how many people out there that really actually had it, they just didn't speak up because of, what?
Because of fear for their life, getting put
Yeah.
in prison or worse,
Yeah.
which ended up being for worse,
Yeah. It's scary stuff. So I don't know. I'm ready to, I want to take a trip up there to Massachusetts and just see that whole area. Cause I could only imagine the sadness and stuff, I'd love
Yeah,
to
that would probably be very interesting. I started watching that documentary. It's pretty good. I just went on YouTube this afternoon. I typed in Salem Witch Trial.
Yeah.
It was a sweet documentary, and it was either put on by Smithsonian or it was put on by History Channel.
Yeah.
And I was getting into it, but I just didn't want to sit. I don't like sitting in the house when it's nice, so I went outside. I probably will go back and watch it, later on in the week because I started really. It was very interesting. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. And Williams says Anne Boleyn was also accused of incest with her brother. Well, there you go.
yeah, well,
It's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff.
mhm.
There, like I said, going back on the asylums and things like that. Can you imagine, like, the lobotomies and things that took place to these innocent people? I just can't imagine.
Oh man, no, I can't. And they did all these things, and they were alive. They were awake when they were doing this half the time.
Yeah, yeah. Just awful things happen in these asylums, and these kind of places. Just makes me sick, because people they just I believe they did it. They do hear voices in their head, but not because
Not because they're
right.
I think there's two ways to look at that, right? I think that some people that hear voices in their head is because what's that?
The Catholic Church accepted the pagan beliefs at first to gain congregations, but then forbid it.
Okay.
So,
But like you say, though, some of these people in these asylums that are hearing voices, again, I believe that they probably were hearing voices and not crazy. And then maybe some of them had a mental handicap of some sort, but certainly not worthy of your having a lobotomy done, right?
correct.
I mean, there had to be a better way.
Something.
It was just exploratory surgery is all that was.
Right, right. And
Just
how many
like-
people died from having lobotomies and things
Or
like that to them?
died or turned them into a vegetable, or they just can't do nothing, or they're just sitting there and then they put them away and forget about them in a corner of some cell, just like we had here in Michigan. I tell you guys about that Eloise Asylum.
Yeah.
They were performing those experiments on people.
Yeah.
And when they screwed them up, instead of, if they didn't die, they just sat and rotted in a 12 by 12 room in the basement.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Madeline, she makes a good point here. Mental illness can look like possession, and possession can look like mental illness. Either way, it's dangerous to confuse.
No, yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. And it does, like I in some of the bad cases we've done, she's truly correct on that. There's things you do to figure out that it's either possession or mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's no joke. And I definitely don't make fun of anybody in that regard, because I know some people that have suffered through that in the families, and I have to tell you, I don't want to say the word depressing. It is, yeah, but I'm trying to look for a better word for the family. It's just it just takes everything out of you.
Yeah.
When you have a child, and especially growing up,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's bad stuff, man. I think
a
lot of people like today, just what's considered normal, it's normal for us, but back then it would get people killed.
Yeah. I'm glad they don't do lobotomies anymore. I didn't think they did, but yeah, I mean, that's.
Yeah. They said for mental illness, they say there's 60 million people undiagnosed with it in America.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's a high number.
Yeah, that sure is a high number. That's kind of crazy there. Anyway,
And then not to get out of not to turn the table, because I did this with Tex, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. The other day, we talked about mental illness, but with the 60 million people, and you have people that are doing crimes, and it's not really their fault because they're not diagnosed. I mean, if somebody does something, but they're mentally unstable, I think they need the help, and it's unfortunate that doctors today,
Yeah.
they're not. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's just all about the insurance money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah. When I talked about that Rye syndrome or whatever, standing still, since I think the start of the whole Salem Witch Trials was bad for food, bread, the mold that grew on it, which made them trip. I mean, that could very well have been too, but I'm still leaning on the fact that there was, young children.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So.
Isn't the magic mushrooms? Aren't they? All that is mold, right?
Yeah,
the psychedelics. I mean, I never did them. I'm just saying from what I know.
I'm not sure. I'm not real familiar with that. I can Google it real quick. Yeah, I don't know much about that. I've never done anything like that. Any mushrooms or anything. So
I see Paul got some of his internet up. I see him out there.
Yeah, I think he's on his phone though.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, here says the mold is argo and is what they used to make LSD. Okay. Well, there you go.
I was kind of I was sniffing it out somewhere. I knew I heard something like that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And LSD, man, I've never done anything psychedelic in my entire life. Never plan on it, but I can imagine here that would have to be. I would see where people would think you were crazy, or indeed were a witch way back when, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Just think. I mean, anything mind altering. Even like today, just even like alcohol, or it alters your mind to some extent that makes people. And back in the day, think about it.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Anything you take that's not natural. Well, any medication you even take, even.
Right.
You take a pain pill.
Yeah.
It just puts you in a sense of blah, kind of dull senses.
Absolutely. Yeah. We and there's so many asylums just in the US alone that, I mean, think of all these people, Rob. It just blows me away. Sorry. I'm sitting here thinking about all these people that were probably innocent, that was probably as sane as you and I, and then to be tortured in these places, and so Malvern Manor has a room where a lady was put in there because her husband said she was crazy. She actually wasn't crazy. Her husband and her father made her go in there. He wanted to go on. He wanted to move on. So he said that she was crazy, and lady wasn't crazy. She got crazy after she was in there. She quit eating, and her hair fell out, and all kinds of things like that made her crazy. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So look how easy it was back then. You know what I'm saying?
Especially if you were the man, all you had to do is say your wife was this, that, or another, and women had zero. They weren't looked on like the man, right? They would say, okay.
Yeah.
Sir Robert, we will take off your wife and throw her in the dungeon.
Yeah. Yep.
Way back in and now, of course, more what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, but I still can't get over. Well, we'll move on from that subject. About still, it's very easy to get convicted on something with no evidence. Way back when.
Uh-huh.
If you were not liked, you were guilty of just about anything. I don't care if it's witchcraft, sorcery, stealing bread from your neighbor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were not liked, you were condemned, or you found your way to being murdered.
Right. Right.
Hey there.
There's Paul in the candlelight.
Oh wow. Very nice, Paul. Very nice. Yeah.
You must have had quite a doozy of a storm, because I got my power still.
I was just. This is cool.
Oh wow, yeah.
Nothing really happened. I mean, I just heard a big loud clap of thunder, and all of a sudden the lights went out. And I have one of my lights on the camera. I guess battery powered, and that's still on. So I was frantically trying to get back on, but
yeah.
Oh.
Crazy. I'm just reading some of these comments here. Asylums were horrible, but when the ACLU opened the doors, just putting people out on the street was not right either. There were many of our street people. That's where many of our street people came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here's what I was going back talking about Malvern Manor, into an asylum whenever they got tired of their wife or wanted to marry a younger female or whatever.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So who knows, man? It was just, I'm glad I lived today, not back then.
Oh, yeah. You read my mind because I was just about to say, I'm glad I did not live back then.
I wouldn't have lived very long.
Would not live very long. I wouldn't have made it very long. I don't think half of us would. The only thing that's cool about
the life expectancy back then wasn't long at all. And I mean, there was
that's even true.
Yeah.
If you didn't get killed, I think you made it to your 40s. I think 40 you were old.
Yeah.
That's
true.
I think a lot of the kings died in their. It's funny. You look back at some of these kings, and this is another thing, you guys, I cannot figure out. Now I know they probably had a court to help advise these kings, and what I mean by that is when a king became king at 13. Because the king got murdered on the battlefield.
Right.
Then they started wising up, and the kings, they kept them from the battlefield.
Yeah.
They realized that the kings can get killed just as easy as the guys on the front line can, right?
Uh-huh.
But can you imagine being 13 years old and you're the king of England? Come on. So I'm sure that they were surrounded by elders, 20-year-olds,
right,
or whatever, to run the kingdom.
Do you think so? Do you think so? Or do you really think a 13-year-old ran the kingdom back then?
I can't think that they did. I think they had to have a group of advisors. Now, the king's word is the king's word. What he said went. I get that. But hopefully he listened to the people advising him, because I don't see no 13-year-old running a kingdom or country.
No, me either. Kind of reminds me of today, huh?
Oh, God. We don't even. Yeah. Well, today.
Today.
Yeah.
But wasn't King Tut early teens?
I think so.
He was young. Yeah.
Very young. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of King Tut, did you know about the King Tut tomb where the people died for opening up the tomb?
No, I did not hear that.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot to really talk about it, but yeah.
That's another cool one to look into. Now, was that a movie or was that actual part of?
It was a documentary
really?
that I watched on it. Yeah. Yeah. Several people who had anything to do with it, they passed away. They died because there was supposedly a curse. He put a curse on, Wow. Yeah. I don't know. It was like 5 or 6 people that died who had anything to do with the body that moved it or whatever. Yeah. Crazy.
People in chat said they heard that too as well, Krista.
Yeah.
Oh, I checked it out. Curses.
Yeah.
Curses.
Yeah. So
now, I did hear though, if you were to go into a what do you call it? I guess if you're supposed to in ancient Egypt, if you messed in a pyramid, especially the ones where they're in the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
You were to go in there that you were hexed or something was cast on you.
Yeah. Roxanne says it was the mold in the tomb, they said later. So maybe it was. Maybe it was. Yeah, George says 5 people died. So yeah, I remember watching it, but it's been a long time, let me tell you. So anyway, I don't know, just crazy stuff with like a lot of the history, and like you were talking about England, all the castles. Can you imagine? I would love to do like a castle tour over in England.
Oh yeah, definitely.
History and the ghosts in those places.
Yeah. I would like to do that too. I'd like to go to one too where it wasn't all made up, like modernized. You know, how some you walk in, like I was telling you guys about the that asylum here in Michigan.
Yeah.
And the thing that sucked about that place, when you walk in the front door, it's all redone, right? Now in the back, they left that original. And some of these castles, like Dracula's castle, I was going to stay up and watch this documentary on Dracula's castle.
Yeah.
I do love the story of Dracula, right? I'm a vampire. I like vampires. I'm into those movies.
Yeah.
But man, they went to the actual castle. But this whole castle, they didn't leave it alone. They put enhancements in it, which to me is not the same thing. I'm sorry.
Right.
I want it to be standing like it was back in 1700s or whenever it was, 1800s.
Yeah.
So anyway, these castle tours I'd love to go on too, as long as they kept it, original. Now I know some of these places you can't even walk in because you might fall through the stairs somewhere. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in the secret rooms in the castles.
Me too. Me too. I'd love to. Love to go. I'd love to go and visit them. And I see a lot of TV shows and things like that. I was just looking up here about famous curses. There's some pretty interesting things here. One of them, the first thing that came up was King Tut's tomb. That's what people said, but then it kind of, agrees with the mold possibly. However, though, could the mold have been a curse? You know what I'm saying? To kill these people that messed with the tomb. Mm-hmm. And then let's see, the curse of Polish King's tomb. Do you know anything about that one? Have you heard of that one?
Polish king? No.
I've never heard of that one either. So it says in 1973, a group of archaeologists opened the tomb of a 15th century Polish king, Casimir, in Krakow, Poland. With the opening of King Tut's tomb 50 years before, European media hyped up the event, and the researchers involved allegedly joked that they were risking a curse on the tomb by opening.
Wow.
When some of the team members began to die shortly after, some media outlets speculated it was due to a curse. Later, experts discovered traces of the fungi inside the tomb that can cause lung illness when breathed in. This was the cause of their deaths.
So, question for the both of you after that. If you were to go into an investigation like that, would you open a tomb?
No, I'm a little superstitious still.
Yeah, I mean,
boy,
no, there's no way I would do that.
Well, I would not want anybody opening my tomb. I'll start by saying that. But
Right.
boy, I tell you what, I would not, but I got to tell you, every part of my body is going to want to open that thing.
Yeah.
Just for the curiosity.
Right.
But,
I was just thinking curiosity killed the cat, but I don't think
I would do it out of respect, I guess. Even I just couldn't do that. But boy, you'd have to wonder. Now, what I'd like to do is find one of these pyramids and find all the treasure. I would take that.
Yeah.
I would risk the curse.
Right.
With my luck, I would get cursed, right, Krista? I take stupid antiques from, I get stuff in them, attachments of those.
Well, here's another curse, the curse of the Tippecanoe or Tecumseh's curse. And it says, in the mid-20th century, U.S. media began to note a pattern in presidential deaths, starting with William Henry Harrison and ending with John F. Kennedy. Every 20 years, the country elected a president who would die in office. Harrison, the first president to die in office, was elected in 1840. The other presidents who died in office include Abraham Lincoln, elected in 1860 and 1864, James Garfield in 1880, William McKinley in 1900, William Harding, elected in 1920, Franklin D. Roosevelt, elected in 1940, as well as 32, 36 in 1944, and JFK, elected in 1960. The only president between Harrison and JFK to fall outside of this pattern is Zachary Taylor, who was elected in 1848 and died in 1850. In the 1930s, Ripley's Believe It or Not claimed the pattern was due to a curse that Shawnee Chief Tecumseh placed on Harrison and future presidents after Harrison's troops defeated Tecumseh at the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811. Tecumseh died 2 years later in another battle against Harrison's troops. This story likely originated with the non-Native Americans and bears similarity to other curses in the U.S. What do you guys think of that one?
I heard of that too. You think that's coincidence, Krista?
I don't know. I don't believe in coincidence.
I know you don't. That's why I asked you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
when you were reading that, all I kept thinking was, I don't remember where I read this, but all of the similarities between Lincoln and Kennedy, that Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy and the other way around.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to me.
Yeah. But, either the curse has been broke then because we haven't had another president, since Kennedy die in office like that.
no.
Yeah.
And
really, since Reagan, we haven't had an attempted assassination either.
Yeah. Reagan's the one I can think of. Yeah. That we know about anyway.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing that Reagan, was it Reagan?
Reagan was it? Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that was. I can't remember where he was shot, but
He was shot like in public. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And you would have thought that's. Go ahead.
Wasn't it John Hinckley?
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
And that's surprising too, because I can think of a couple presidents recently that people wanted to assassinate.
Yeah.
Not even close. Didn't even hear a wink about that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even hear about
says
plots
Reagan
or attempts or anything.
No, you don't.
So, no, you don't. Wasn't it around the same time Reagan, and I could be wrong, I just kind of remember them together, but wasn't the Pope, didn't someone take a shot at the Pope too back then?
Oh, wow, I'd never heard that.
I think so. I think you're right, yeah.
John Paul II, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Here's an interesting curse you guys might get a kick out of. So it is the Billy Goat curse on the Chicago Cubs. It says, as with theater, there are also a lot of superstitions in the world of sports. One of the most famous curses is supposedly the Billy Goat curse on the Chicago Cubs. In 1945, a tavern owner named William Billy Goat Cyanus was reportedly prevented from bringing his pet goat Murphy into Chicago's Wrigley Field to see the Cubs play the Detroit Tigers in the World Series. Supposedly, Cyanus put a curse on the Cubs, saying they wouldn't win this or any other World Series ever again. Before this, the Cubs had only won the World Series twice before, in 1907 and 1908. When they lost the World Series in 1945, the curse gained credence. In 2016, when the Cubs won the World Series for the first time in over a century, U.S. media promoted the idea that the curse was broken.
Yeah.
I think that was one of my, as a St. Louis Cardinal baseball fan, that is one of my favorite curses. And I'm sorry if there's any Cub fans out there, but it's unfortunately that curse got broke.
Yeah.
And it was also the well, we here in Detroit, we had the curse of Bobby Lane. I won't get into that unless you're from Detroit. But a more popular one, again, I don't know how many people are sports fans. You would know this, Paul. The Boston Red Sox.
Yep.
Remember right out of the glove, lost the World Series? Was that Bill Buckner?
Oh, Bill Buckner right between the legs.
Right between the legs.
Against the Mets, wasn't it?
Yeah, and guess what? That guy, though, he got ran out of town. He had death threats. People tried to kill that guy for losing that game. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for the longest time, the Red Sox had the curse of the Bambino. Didn't they lose him to the Yankees? Traded him to the Yankees or something? And unfortunately, here again, the curse was broken against the Cardinals.
Yeah. Oh, the Cardinals. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a curse on the Cardinals.
It wasn't a curse on the Cardinals, but it was a curse on the Red Sox.
The
that they
Cardinals
broke
broke it. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I remember that now. Charles says, no, not Charles. Who just put up that Reagan had dinner with Hinckley the night before he tried to shoot him?
George.
Oh, wow.
George Bush.
George Bush.
The night before. Wow, isn't that interesting?
I didn't know that little tidbit.
Yeah.
Wow. And George Bush was the vice president for Reagan, wasn't he?
Yes. The main George Bush Senior.
Yeah.
The main one,
Papa.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
I didn't either. We're getting a history lesson.
Yeah, no, I did not. We all probably should have known that, but if I knew it, it slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so long ago. My mind's been gone since then.
Yes, I agree completely. Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy,
Yeah.
Pretty crazy history.
Yeah. So I'm on my phone. Unfortunately I can't see anything in chat, so I can't comment on what anybody's saying here. And I have to wear my glasses. I can hardly read the screen too. Yeah. Didn't Rob say that before, that he was having he had to read when he was at the draft? This was before the show started.
Yes.
When he was at the draft, he needed his glasses. I can't see a thing even with my glasses on.
Yeah. Roxanne says this is interesting. Plus, Hinkle wrote to Jodie Foster during that time.
Wow.
That's crazy stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and Charles said when I talked about the Pope John Paul was shot in an attempted assassination. So I thought that was the right one.
I thought that was pretty close to when Reagan was shot.
So I was raised Catholic, and my grandma was a diehard Catholic. And I remember many years ago, I was probably, 10 or 12, and Pope John Paul came to St. Louis, and he was in this little car, see-through car, and I guess it was bulletproof at the time back then. Mm-hmm. But I remember my grandma hauling me downtown St. Louis to see the Pope. So I got a glimpse of Pope John Paul II.
When, I guess the last time Pope John Paul was here, because you're just a year older than I am, and I was working at a TV station then. So this had to have been a second time.
I was young when he was here.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I feel like I remember being young because my grandma hauled me down there, and I'm like, I don't want to go see him. Wasn't my thing.
I was in my 20s when he was here.
Well, maybe so. I don't know.
And but anyway, I did a whole special series on his visit here, and I was actually down at the Dome at the convention center, and he passed like 6 feet in his little Pope Mobile car. He passed like 6 feet away from me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Hey,
So
I want to ask you, since we're talking about presidents, I don't know if this is made up, or I even remember reading this, but I remember reading this since we're talking about presidents. And I'm not going to disparage George Washington, our very first president.
Uh-huh.
But did you guys hear, and again, I think it's made up, but I've read this somewhere, that George Washington kept slaves and he would murder his slaves and drink their blood?
I did not ever hear that.
No.
Yeah, I heard that. I got to look it up. I just thought of me talking about presidents. I was thinking about weird stuff with the presidents.
I thought he was one of the good guys.
Why? That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to say anything negative about good old George Washington, but I got to look into that. We should look into that and see if we can find the information on it. Maybe somebody, George, a lot of people in chat seem to know a lot about the presidents.
Let's see here. I'll Google it real quick. So
Okay.
Hold on.
That'd be kind of a cool show to do if that's all over the internet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I never would have thought that.
No, me either. He shot, he didn't.
I'm Googling.
Where'd they ever come up with the Lincoln? Which is made believe. Remember that dumb movie? I don't know if it was dumb or not, but
Right.
Lincoln, the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. It's not talking about him ever killing any. It just says that George Washington owned human beings before he ever made a decision to do so, to be president. He inherited 10 enslaved people at the age of 11 when his father died.
Okay, well,
He
I got part of it right.
As an adult.
And he
See, I
did
would
have
do-
that. He did have that huge plantation in Mount Vernon.
Yeah. And then he
Yeah.
married Martha in his late 20s, and she brought even more people with her to Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn sounds like BS. I'm guessing Glenn it is, but you know how rumors get started, right? I just said that. Now everyone's gonna be looking it up.
Yeah. You know, we last night briefly on last night's show, we briefly talked about like the White House and stuff being haunted and what I wouldn't do to get in there, man.
Oh my Lord, be a fly on the wall of the White House.
Yeah. Do you think they'd let you be locked in at the White House all by yourself one time? Yeah.
Doubt it, but I'd
That
love
would be fun. Yeah. I mean, even just to take a tour of where the general public isn't supposed to go, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would love to go to the White House. I've never been.
I mean,
I was there once when I was a kid. I don't remember it really.
Do you remember this movie, Lincoln the Vampire Slayer?
yeah, I brought that up earlier, but yeah, that was fun.
That's what I was reading. Yeah. That's
You never
crazy.
know. Yeah, you never know.
But yeah, you never know, Shade. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, right, Shay. We were talking about that earlier. Krista would definitely be a witch back in 1692.
Yeah.
And Brandy.
I think a lot of us would, you know.
Me and Paul would be warlocks.
Yeah. No, let's go back on the topic of the White House.
Okay.
Like they say, like there's been different presidents been seen in there, and you know the White House is not the original White House, right?
Yeah.
Right. That burned down.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
It did, and they rebuilt. So
I would have to say that yes, there are ghosts in the White House. I'd have to say there are.
yeah. Well, they say Lincoln, you know, in the White House, and you know his wife. Do you know after he passed away, like she went to a like a psychic medium to contact Lincoln's spirit? Did you know that?
No.
No, I didn't hear that.
Sure did. She sure did.
Wow.
Do you remember what they said about it, or did she divulge the information?
I don't remember a whole lot. I'm telling you, my brain sucks. I just remember reading about that a long time ago. But yeah, that's what they said that she did. That I'll Google that too. Here, let's see.
Roxanne says the Capitol building also, as far as ghosts, hauntings.
Oh, I could see that too.
I mean, yeah, both of those buildings are just super old, you know, as far as United States buildings go.
Okay, this is interesting. There's a photo. Let me see if I can find it. It says the ghost of Abraham Lincoln is a photograph taken by the American photographer William Mumler in 1872. It appears to depict a faint white figure interpreted as the ghost of U.S. President Abraham Lincoln standing over his seated widow, Mary Todd Lincoln. So let's see if we can find that. Oh, I do see it. Oh my gosh, I'm going to post that. Hold on, just give me a minute. This is pretty cool, guys. I had no idea. Just bear with me a minute. It's going to take me a second to get it on here. See if I can put it up here like this. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, here it is. And then I can share my screen. So let's do that real quick. Okay. All right, so hold on. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So if that was done in 1870, like, could it have been like an imprint there before of Lincoln in the film? What do you guys think?
Well, my first thought was, would they even have the technology to perform a hoax, right? But
Right.
the
I
thing
mean, you
about
could
that
always-
picture is the hands on the shoulders don't really match up to the
Right.
ghostly shadow in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just my impression first seeing it.
And
Yeah.
I'm not much with photography, but couldn't you always double expose a picture?
That's what I was thinking.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Kind of what I was thinking. I don't know.
That's a pretty cool picture, though.
It
Yeah.
is a cool picture. It says, let's see, some people say I'm not buying it. Yeah.
Pixie says in 1870 it was a single photo plate.
Yeah. Yeah, it says the photographer took pictures of many people showing their deceased loved ones. Yeah, and then she says it was a single photo plate. I don't know. I don't know.
Very interesting, though.
It is interesting. No, thank you for me.
I
don't
still
know.
love the.
To me, it looked kind of fake, though. It really did. But
Yeah.
then you think back then, they didn't have AI and Photoshop.
Yeah. I mean, the hands for me kind of made it weird. Shouldn't they have been ghostly hands? They seem almost like a color hands.
Yeah,
Like the lady sitting in the chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can share it again real quick because that's just kind of. To me, it looks.
I mean, I'm going to say fake.
Both hands look fake to me. Even look at how like the hand on her top. I guess it would be right shoulder.
Right shoulder.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right.
No,
Yeah. It don't even look like a finger. It looks like a square.
Right. Okay, I'd say that's debunked. That's fake.
Yeah, I'd say that's fake. Yeah, for sure.
She looking at her closely, she kind of looks like Jonathan Winters, that old comedian. I don't know if he's still alive.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
he used to dress up as a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, for his skits, for his comedy skits, not
Yeah.
I tell you what, the best ghost pictures I've ever, or spirit pictures. A lot of people hate when you say ghosts. I noticed, Krista, but the spirit pictures are the couple you showed me from that real renowned photographer.
Yep.
With the especially at that lake.
Zombie Road.
Yeah.
I would agree. Those are some pretty incredible pictures. And if I didn't know the person that took them, I would claim fake. But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, they're
that's how good they are.
Yeah. And
Glenn Dennison goes tinfoil. Yeah, I was about to say that'd be a good one for Brandy and Randy.
Yeah,
their show.
Wow. This I have not, Danny. I have not. Have you guys heard about the ghost at
No.
A church located in Stratford, Virginia?
No.
I've not heard of that. Oh, Charles says about the photo that he thinks that they proved it was a hoax. I could say that. I could see that.
I have to agree with that.
Well, and then the fact that, back then, like when someone would pass away, like they would take pictures of them, like a whole family picture with the dead body.
My dad used to do that too. And it was, I was looking through old photo albums years after he passed away. And I'm like, why did you take a picture of my grandma in a casket? It was weird.
Yeah.
I think that's weird too. I would never take a picture of somebody in a casket.
Oh my gosh, no. This Lincoln picture, I mean, I think we all agree it's fake, and most of the people in chat do. And even though now that I'm thinking more about it, that Lincoln picture, the image, you've seen that image so many times with pictures of Lincoln. That's like his standard picture that he's always crops up in. If you look for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and even back then, somebody could have gone in and figured out how to maybe whitewash him out of there. Yeah. Probably would have been really difficult back then to do, but
yeah, definitely fake. Yeah. I still though the people taking pictures, the death pictures, that just blows me away. Like back in the day,
it's.
And I know like from doing Civil War reenactments, like, it took so long to take one picture, 15 minutes to take one picture. So a lot of people, like they were missing teeth and stuff. So that's why a lot of them don't smile, because they're standing there. Plus they're frustrated because they're standing in these weird positions for that long.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, like here, Bristol says it's better than propping them in a chair and taking a family photo, which they also did back in the day.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
they
What
did
they would
They did that.
really?
Yes. You haven't seen the death photos?
No, I've never even thought to look up death photos.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm gonna have to, oh man. So they would, when someone's loved ones would pass away, they would like prop them up, like Crystal said, in a chair, or a child throw them on your lap and they're dead. And the whole family's in on the picture.
Freshly dead, then I assume.
Well, yeah.
Sounds kind of weird to say.
Fresh.
Oh man.
I could see it. Hey guys, Grandma just died. Come on over. Let's
Come
start
on over
taking
for the
family
photo.
portrait.
We're gonna
Family
take the
portrait
photo
time.
shit with Grandma. She's been dead 2 hours. Oh
Little Patty
man.
says got way down the rabbit hole from
Yeah.
Salem Files. True story.
Yeah,
That's a weird one.
Yeah. But it's really true. Yeah. And here Roxanne says, yeah, they did. My mom has some old ones like that of relatives.
Well, I'm not making fun of anybody who's done that, but
No,
yeah,
no,
it's just
no.
weird. I can't. Yeah, no.
If you see old pictures, let me see if I can find one. Keep talking. I'll find
Oh,
one.
No, I will just say that the closest person to get this died in my life was my dad about 7 years ago, and I couldn't even think. Well, first of all, he was cremated. Last time I saw my dad when he was passed in the hospital bed,
Yeah.
and I guess when they take him down to the crematory,
Yeah.
that they take
Crematorium?
a picture.
Yeah.
Crematorium. They take a picture, so that's floating out there somewhere. But I have no
Yeah.
interest in looking at that.
I would think those would be kept
Under
Okay.
lock and
medical
key.
folders or lock and key,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to share with you guys.
Oh boy.
So hold on. Let me. And
Yeah,
this
sorry,
one-
I'm right up in the camera here. I can't see anything.
No, it's all right. This here
Yeah,
they
no, it's
said
good.
was taken. It was two parents and their child. So she looks like an adult child, but they said she likely died of tuberculosis. And this is they call them post-mortem photography. Like, can you guys see that? So the girl right here,
Yeah.
she's dead.
Yeah. She actually looks like the head is superimposed over the image.
It
to me.
does.
Right. And the parents were still alive. There's more pictures on here. Let me scroll
I mean,
down. See, there was more.
Wait, go back up to that picture. Go back.
Another one.
Oh, look, that one. Oh my.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
No, there's a picture of Jesse James in his casket.
Oh,
I think I
my
might have
God.
seen that one.
Yeah, it's hanging up at the Ray County Museum. There's one of them.
But go back up to that first one.
That one.
Look how clear.
She looks.
Yeah, she looks, and then I guess that's her parents. They're completely out of focus.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and
And-
she looks like her mom quite a bit. too.
Yes, she really
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
But somebody that close shouldn't be that
Right.
much out of focus.
Hell, for a dead person, she looked better than her parents.
She did.
Here it says an example of subject sitting. So this guy, when it said about propping him up on the chair, there you go. That guy on the
yeah.
chair.
God.
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah. Oh, this is sad. Mother with
Oh,
her
it's
deceased
terrible.
father.
I
That's
would not.
awful.
How could you even do that?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah.
So they would actually dress the kids up or the deceased people up to get pictures
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Glad we don't do that anymore.
Right. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah. There's some comments about it, but yeah. I wonder if she was sitting or standing because she was short. I have no idea. I don't know. But it's
And how would you even? I mean, being the parent of a child that dies, how would you even be able to sit in a picture?
Hang on, guys.
you're good.
I'd be a mess.
I'd be a hot mess myself.
Yeah.
But back then death was, I'm not saying it wasn't okay,
I can't see that.
it's just it was I don't know, people died young and so many deaths
Yeah.
back then,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And Charles makes a good point here. He says those were probably the only photo they had of family members.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then Roxanne says, think how long a body for showing, and they would not bury the body until all relatives showed up to pay respect. Got kind of ripe. She's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, remember there used to be a time when people would be laid out in a funeral home for 2 days?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or even in your home. Because a lot of people, they didn't go to funeral homes. They had the viewing in their homes.
Oh, no. No, I couldn't. No.
Yeah. Mark says they did not bury them. They kept them in the closet. Ugh. Yeah. Glenn says pictures of 30s gangsters propped up in the morgue, Old West outlaws too. And that's kind of like the Jesse James photo. It's literally he's in a casket and he's dead.
Wow.
It's pretty obvious in that picture.
Yeah. I'm so glad we live in the day and age that we do now.
Yeah, exactly. Paranormal Pixie says often the death photos were all they had and it was expensive.
Yeah, I mean, photos back then were so hard to get and so expensive to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can understand that, but.
And I guess it was common back then, but like you said, today it's just, we couldn't imagine, I would never take a picture at a funeral home ever.
No.
To me, that's number one, disrespectful, the dead and the family. I would think that's how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but back then it wasn't a big deal.
And you think almost a family picture is like a happy occasion, and certainly funerals and death isn't a happy thing.
No.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Shade Viking says you can get your pet stuffed and embalmed now so they can be there forever.
Yeah, I've heard that too. People do that.
I mean, I could see taxidermy people might do that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do that either.
Yeah, I know people do it. I don't know anyone that's done that. I personally would not.
No, Werewolf makes a good point though, and you know what? People take pictures with their babies that die still. That's true. They might be stillborn or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Roxanne
but
says,
but not like what the pictures that you just showed. So I mean,
no.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine.
It's kind of crazy, and I don't mean crazy when I say this. Yeah, she said. I guess it's not uncommon now that I think about people taking pictures at a funeral home of their loved ones in a casket. Not my thing, but I respect those that do it today. But not to have them propped up, sitting in my grandfather's lap. I mean, that's a little absurd, in my opinion. But back in the day, that was the thing they did, I guess.
Yeah.
As Paul said, it was probably normal practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a question here. Somebody wants to go down a whole different rabbit hole. We can briefly, I guess, talk about that. Can you tell me about the Fae? I have lots of fairy fossils. We've done a lot of shows on the Fae.
Yeah, a lot of weird energy with the Fae, that's for sure. Good or bad.
Yeah, they can be a little of both, And actually, I truly believe, like what you saw, that walking stick, I think Fae.
A Fae or elemental, kind of they're the same but different categories. But yeah, I think that was for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you didn't hear the walking stick story, I was out of this big meadow. Now, here's the thing. It was at this creek called Dead Man's Curve where I saw a ghost at Dead Man's Curve. Or a couple got killed in 1967, the year 1967. But we always hung out at this place anyway. It was really it was a cool meadow with the wood line around the creek that runs through our area. And yeah, Krista and everyone listening, I was out in this field and I'm just looking ahead and this stick kind of pops up out of the ground. Now you remember it's kind of hot out, kind of summer. And it was a stick. And I figured, I thought nothing of it because I figured some dry timber that popped up. It's maybe 12, 14 inches or 16, maybe sticking straight up. And I'm looking at it. But I'm looking past it as something else. So I started walking closer. But all of a sudden, this stick, sitting about 16 inches tall, straight out of the ground, all of a sudden, you guys, it got up, it rose up another like 6 to 8 inches, and it had little arms popped out. It seemed like on the sides and legs, spindly legs, and it started running towards the creek line. And it remind me of the Planter's Peanut Man in a way, even though it wasn't shaped like a peanut, but with the thin arms just running back and forth like some mechanical thing. And I wasn't scared. I'm running after this thing. I'm like, what the hell? Is that some like weird bug? I'm thinking to myself. And it ran all the way down the hill into the creek. And you guys would have jumped in the creek. It kind of jumped in the creek. Then it reverted back to just a stick floating down the creek. And it looked like your average everyday creek. Everyday stick. That was a weird thing, Krista and Paul, man. That was like, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then I started, and as we all investigate and look up cryptids, really, the fae or elementals, and I guess there are such creatures or elementals like that. I guess other people have told me they've had similar accounts with like stick people, I guess you call them.
Right. I don't know. Yeah. What was going through your head at that time?
I'm like, what the hell? I don't know. I was just, I don't know. I was running after it. I certainly wasn't scared. And I'm thinking, what is this?
Yeah.
I think it's like a big old bug of some sort that I'd never seen in my lifetime. The thing was, I wasn't scared, but boy, when that boom pops like right in the creek and the arms and legs kind of went in.
Yeah.
And it went blended in with the rest of nature. You wouldn't even tell it was what it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was going through my set, I just thought it was kind of cool, actually. I mean, I didn't think anything of it, really.
Wow. Yeah. And it I don't know.
And I will tell you this, you guys, I've seen other stick bugs where it looks like you've all seen those, right?
Yeah.
They're maybe 2 inches long. They look like a stick, but then boom, it's a bug. And it just kind of they don't walk though. I don't think they just kind of creepily crawl along.
Right.
Yeah.
Amy says, "Prop me up beside the jukebox." A werewolf. Remember that?
Prop me up beside a pizza oven.
Well, I'm talking about that song. It's a country song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah, I don't know. The fae kind of scare me. I did a private case that it was elementals and the fae that was causing the haunting, and it was just bad stuff that was going on. We ended up having to give them something, and we ended up planting some apple trees for them.
We always talk about spirits that are maybe evil or nefarious, which I think there's not as. Now, the longer I've done this, there's not many like that, to be honest.
Right.
But I think with these the fae, now that is something you could flip a coin on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're to your benefit, and sometimes they're against you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
From my talking with people.
Yeah. I think, if you go in and you respect the forest and you respect the things in the forest, and I mean, not just the animals, but the trees and everything about it, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. And like I always say about the forest, I've said this, the forest to me is like the internet, the natural internet, with all the living creatures. Well, not really, even the land, the trees, shrubbery, grass, whatever the case may be. It's all, it's a big living life force, which I do leads again into another subject with the portals. And I think it's all connected somehow. I think it's just a map, a live road map to take you on all these various journeys that we've gone on that leads you to Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Same can be said about all the oceans and the lakes and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything that's in there that we haven't even touched.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy stuff. Well, we just kind of rambled tonight.
Yeah. No, I had fun. It was good.
Talked a little bit of everything.
It's always good when you just kick it. I like chilling, especially,
Right.
It's sometimes hard to line up guests. We all go through that, but
I didn't even
sometimes,
try. I just figured, we can talk about Salem Witch Trials and wherever else we
I
go.
did the same thing on brunch. Me and Tex just kicked it. Then I went to the downtown. But yeah, I like these shows. They're fun.
Yeah, I do too. Shows with
Certainly are.
no motives, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're almost at the hour and a half mark, so we can go ahead and end this. And appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. If you're in Fouke, Arkansas this weekend, look up Brandy and Jason McLean and Tex. They're down there at the conference, Bigfoot conference there. And yeah, so I'll be on tomorrow night with Paranormal Paul and Paranormal Among Us. Who's your guest, Paul?
We have Tom Franklin from Eye of Jupiter tomorrow.
Awesome. He's a cool dude. Yeah.
Yep.
And then BMR. We're gonna
BMR Tuesday night, Krista. We got Barry Littleton. I love having Barry on. Tuesday night at 9. And then I think Thursday. I don't know who I got Thursday with Tex. Somebody cool. I got a lot of cool guests in the month of May coming up. Ron Moorhead.
Oh yeah.
Will be joining me.
Josh
Turner's gonna come on and we're gonna talk we're gonna talk some inner earth creatures, and then of course the next week I got Barton coming on. So we got a lot of cool people coming on in the next month of May.
Yeah, you sure do. Are we going live tomorrow night, Rob? Too?
Well, it's Saturday night. Yeah, I would say why not?
So that one will be at
midnight Eastern
11
time, 11
Central.
Central. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think we're gonna do something on the spirits. These kids. There was a strange apparition at this camping site where these spirit entities came out of a fire, but there was a really haunting voice, which I think might have been a Wendigo.
Yeah.
In the back.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. We'll talk about that tomorrow night.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So everybody tune in. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. And after this gets over, I do believe Paranormal Roundtable, they'll be going live here soon, shortly. So we'll see everybody over there in their chat. And yeah, that's about it. So I guess until next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you,
Great
everybody.
show.
Have a good night.